Hello, friends. This is Dave Hurwitz, executive editor at ClassicsToday.com, and it's time for Bitchfest 2024, that fabulous moment when we get to do what all classical music lovers do best and like to do best. No, not listen to music, complain. Yeah, and boy, we got some big ones this year. Oh my God, it's a banner year for Bitchfest, I have to say. Today, the topic is, or this year, the topic is hypocrisy on the left and the right. Now, the news is full of stories about how divided our society is between its two extremes. And there's something to be said for that. It's actually true of the rest of the world, since Americans don't seem to pay much attention to anything. It's worth looking at the news to see that, France's government fell. Germany just had a no confidence vote. England is going down the tubes. I mean, the whole world is a mess. At least the Western world is a mess. Actually, the Eastern world is a mess too. You've got Korea with its president being impeached and trying to declare martial law. You've got the war in Russia and the Ukraine. I mean, oh my goodness. Seriously, it looks like we're living in interesting times, as the saying goes. And that is also true in the world of music. Now, the hypocrisy, well, how do we deal with the hypocrisy on the right and the left? Let us start with the right and then move to the left. Because, quite frankly, this is a plague on both their houses kind of talk. It really is. Let's start with the right. What do we have on the right? On the right, we have an avowed America first, make America great again clump of people who are nationalist, populist, whatever you want to call them, give them a label. And where does music fit into this? Do they even have a cultural program? Of course not, because you've got this collection of ignorant yahoos who couldn't care less about American culture, the things that really make America great. What are the things that make America great in 20th century music? Composers like Charles Ives, Lou Harrison, Bernard Herrmann, we've talked about them, the great film music composers, all of these people who have contributed so much to 20th century musical culture, to Western musical culture. Because, these people are nothing if not Western-oriented, American-oriented. But what do they do for American products, for American talent, for American innovation? Zip when it comes to culture. In fact, they're suspicious of it. They're paranoid. They're xenophobic. They think that it's all part of some sort of left-wing elitist intellectual conspiracy kind of thing. And so you would think that if they were serious about the Make America Great Again, that they would seize the opportunity to give the left wing a much deserved, I would say, kick in the behind by insisting that they do something, anything, to promote homegrown local talent. That means American composers, American performers, American institutions, the things that America has that are absolutely, unquestionably great. The great orchestras, the great conservatories, the great chamber ensembles. And when it comes to music, we've got incredible homegrown talent. I will never forget, really never forget when I had friends of mine visiting from Switzerland. And I was taking them home to Milford, Connecticut. It was like Thanksgiving or something. So we were going to spend the holiday weekend at my parents' house at that point. This was 20, 30 years ago in Milford. And we were driving along I-95 and we go across the Housatonic River. And they got all excited. They were all excited. It's the Housatonic, as in Charles Ives, the Housatonic at Stockbridge, one of the great tone poems in the history of Western civilization about the Housatonic River in New England. And I said, yeah, that's the Housatonic. I grew up there on the shores of the Housatonic. And I mean, if you really want to do Ives 3 places in New England, one of my school trips was to Putnam's Camp in Reading, Connecticut. We used to go to Putnam Park all the time and hang out there on several occasions. That's where our school trip was. I mean, it was really a lovely sort of thing for me to discover the brilliant, genius musical evocations of these places that were part of my childhood and part of my environment where I grew up. Do you think anybody in most of that area even knows that these pieces exist? Of course they don't. I mean, who are we kidding? That there's this fabulous composer who was a total original genius and who evoked these wonderful, wonderful places, for our delectation? No, of course not. Do they support their local orchestras? I mean, I lived between Tanglewood and New York, so I saw the Boston Symphony, I saw the New York Phil, I mean, the great orchestras of the world, at least half a dozen of which are right here, possibly more at this point, maybe 10 and 12, who knows? I mean, great performing ensembles and chamber ensembles and groups like Orpheus Chamber Orchestra and all of these wonderful things. They should be promoted because they are homegrown, American product, and they are fabulous. Absolutely fabulous. So, does the right care? Do they even have a cultural program? Do they even conceive of what culture should be, what American culture could be? Or is it nothing but, populist drivel? Well, I think we know that answer right now. And so, as far as I'm concerned, they're all a bunch of worthless hypocrites because what they are doing is nothing. They are screaming about making America great again, but they don't have a clue about what the greatness of America is when it comes to the specifics of our musical culture, our musical life, our heritage, our history. It's all just bullshit. It's basically designed to attract the lowest common denominator and achieve political power. But let me tell you, if these people were serious, if they actually had a program, they could do some great things. They really could, as far as our musical culture is concerned. But no, that ain't going to happen. So now, let's turn to the left. Oh yes, the left. The woke left. Puh. Let me tell you, I did a video about how woke programming is actually a good thing. And I believe that. I believe it because I think anything that gives local, homegrown American talent an opportunity to flourish, to be heard, to be presented, to be discovered, to be encouraged is a good thing. And it doesn't matter whether that talent is African American or female or gay or I don't care. It should just be done. So to that extent, I'm with the left. The problem is they are throwing the baby out with the bathwater. What they're saying is we are doing this because they're doing the right thing for the wrong reasons. Let's put it that way. Because Western civilization is imperialist and it's icky white folks doing things for themselves, and it's all of these excuses, all of this nonsense about cultural appropriation that we've been talking about so much. I mean, it's all hogwash. What you have is a whiny bunch of babies, an entitled class of people who are insisting that they deserve to be supported merely because they exist. And they're supported by, that is, they're supported not financially, of course, no, not financially. They are encouraged by an academic class of lazy, tired intellectuals who regard music and culture as part of a political football game where it's Western civilization being accused of being awful, just awful, bad, inimical, something that has must necessarily, as part of their zero-sum game mentality, something that must necessarily denigrate and demean any culture other than itself, which of course is just complete bullshit. That's what we were talking about. That's also nonsense. It's absolutely ridiculous, and it's harmful, genuinely harmful, because what is it doing? It is destroying the opportunity of homegrown, American, genuine, open, wonderful, inclusive talent and culture to manifest itself in our daily lives. Because remember, the biggest hypocrisy about this at all is that the performers who are part of this woke left movement, what are they doing? They're the ones who are responsible for promoting the Western image of classical music, of art and civilization. I mean, that's what they do 99% of the time. Okay, so 1% of the time they may have some music by Florence Price, or they may have, some female or other cultural entity like composers. But they're not playing Lou Harrison. They started to do Florence Price orchestral music with the Philadelphia Orchestra, and they made one disc, a physical product. The rest was just the next one, pardon me. So the rest was just a streaming media release with no physical existence whatsoever. There's nothing indicating that the project is ongoing or viable. I mean, they're not supporting it. They're not supporting it at all. Now, the left would say, well, of course not, because they are part of the classical military industrial complex, which is capitalist and part of the whole cultural appropriation, imperialistic white Western thing. So they're not going to do it. They're only going to pay lip service to it. Well, I got news for you. Everyone's only paying lip service to it. None of them are serious. None of them are serious. I mean, if you paid any attention to the series of videos I've been covering by Joseph Horowitz about the alternate narrative for American classical music, it's not about picking one person here, one person there, it's about radically reconceiving the entire history of Western classical music to include American composers who are serious composers. You should include everybody from Charles Ives to Lou Harrison to Walter Piston to Roger Sessions to Carl Ruggles to Elliott Carter. I mean, they all belong. It's George Crumb, Morton Feldman. They're all part of this amazing constellation that is that is American musical culture. It fits in Western musical culture, of course, because, hey, here's a news flash. You people on the left, we live in the West. That's where we are. That's where we come from. That's what the history is. That's what it does. And you have to accept it, and you have to enjoy it, and you have to promote it. The irony is that somewhere in the middle, between these two wackadoo extremes, there is a group. We are here, this group of music lovers in the middle. We're collecting music, we're listening to music, we're trying to discover new music. We just want to listen. We want to listen with open minds and open ears and just have the opportunity to celebrate this amazing musical heritage, this cultural heritage that is American classical music, with the highest level of performance. It's all out here. It's just there. The institutions exist. The opportunity exists. Everything is sitting there, and neither side cares, because all that they have is their own political agendas. And that's what it is. It's a political fight with culture as the football. Culture should not be a football. It shouldn't be batted back and forth as an object of threat or opprobrium or anything else. It's there to be enjoyed and celebrated, period. Always, without exception. And neither the right side or the left side has a clue about how to do it in a way that is productive and encouraging and nurturing and fulfilling, and which gives people joy and introduces them to the wonder that is the vast range of musical activity that's going on in this country every day. Happily, there is a vast range of musical activity going on in this country every day. But it is extremely depressing that those who claim themselves to be part of the major movements in American culture today have no serious plan for American culture, have no serious understanding or appreciation for what it is, or how to present it, and why it matters, and what to do with it. That's a fact. And so that, my friends, is Bitchfest 2024. My only suggestion is let's stay right where we are in the middle, stay away from these people, both sides of them, and simply focus on the pleasure to be gotten from our enjoyment of the widest variety of music, wherever we find it, and not to be embarrassed. This is really important. Not to be embarrassed by taking some pride in who we are, where we come from, what our country has produced, and what it continues to produce every day, despite, not because of, despite all of these voices on both sides of this debate loudly telling us what ought to be and what we ought to be doing. Screw them both. And that, my friends, is Bitchfest 2024. Keep on listening, and thank you for joining me. Take care.